Hello, everyone. This is Nicholas Peter Ugero, and today I have the pleasure and honor of having Ben Rowie on my channel. How you doing? Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Nicholas. Great to be here.
Thank you again. So for people that aren't aware of who you are, if you just want to give a brief introduction of yourself and your mindset and just what you're all about.
Yeah, sure. Well, a lot of more people, at least online, know me as plant-based Ben. So a lot of people ask me, like, "What's your last name?" They don't even know. So my right, I've been known in terms of the last 4 years almost as kind of promoting happy, healthy, conscious living. That's been my focus. So I've been doing that. I'm plant-based. So really, what that means is I'm not eating any animal products. And I had an awakening at one point. We're happy. I'm happy to get into the details of that. But this awakening just kind of said, Ben, it's time to maybe start raising awareness for health, for the animals, for the planet. And so I decided that, all right, why don't I lose weight? And I did a fitness transformation, and I went from 18% body fat down to 10% body fat in 3 months. And I recorded the journey. And I didn't know, but when I posted my transformation picture on Instagram, it attracted attention and it drove people to me. And I was hoping that would happen because I really wanted to create a platform to talk about um, hey, I don't even like to use the word, but veganism. It's got such stigma, and especially has big stigma in this freedom movement too,
Yeah, it
because it
does.
seems to be a very left-leaning, Bill Gates burgers and all this other stuff. We can get into that too. But I came to the realization right after COVID hit and the pandemic, and I realized what was going on. I was already awake to other movements. I was awake to big pharma, to big agriculture, and to these other movements and the false flags. And so when this came around, I said, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't seem right. This doesn't add up. The science doesn't add up. And I realized what was going on. I realized there's something a lot more significant going on. And what I ended up doing is I said, I can't stay silent. Because if I want to, I don't care what it is you want to help. Hell, you want to, promote anything. You want to stand for anything. How do you do that if we can't have our basic fundamental rights? If we're censored, if we can't control what goes into our body, how can we control our own health? If I really wanted to stand on a platform talking about health, how do we have our own health if we can't control our what is going into our body and when? And I saw that, and I realized that this pandemic really wasn't about health. It really wasn't about our health and safety. It was an agenda. And I've spent the last, well, probably 12 months solid shifting from promoting the plant-based stuff into really focusing on helping to others to see what I'm seeing out there and trying to wake people up so we can turn this ship around.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's really good to see to someone really make that transition. Like really changing the focus of, all right, this is super important to me. This is what my life is right now. Like doing all this health stuff and helping inspire people and helping make a difference in that sense. But then also seeing, wow, there's this whole other area that's super super important. Also, like you're saying, like self ownership. These by them mandating a shot or a test or anything like that, and saying that we need to do it in order to operate in the world. They're basically telling us, hey, we own your body and we get to say what goes into it and what doesn't. You can't put cannabis in there, but we can give you this shot that's experimental and has a myriad of side effects, and the benefits don't outweigh the risks, or we don't even know the full extent of either of those. So it's yeah, it's a very scary time. It's a very empowering time for people to be activated, and I'm very happy, and I'm so happy that you're in my area too. It's actually it's
Yeah,
excellent.
we're 10 minutes from each other.
Yeah,
That's great.
it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
and applying that, it's like, okay, well, you know what? Just do the right thing, get your shots. Do the right thing, put your mask on, right? Do the right thing. And so when people are are innocent, they're innocent minded, they want to do the right thing. We all want to do the right thing. That's what we have in common. We all want good health. We all want humanity to thrive. We want love. We want to be free of fear. These are the things that we all want collectively. And there's this illusion that we're divided into, that we're not on the same team, but we are on the same team. It's just not everyone's gotten the memo yet. That's the way I see it. And so it's like, just get the shot. Just now get 2, now get 3, now get 4. When does it end? Well, I don't think there's any end in sight. And when you start to connect the dots, you realize that. And yeah, so it's something I've been obsessed with, to be honest. It's all I'm thinking about, and I'm glad, because I really think if we don't turn things around now, every nail that they get in the coffin is going to be that much more difficult to open it. So now is the time to strike with as much love and force that we've got.
Yeah, most certainly. I know that they've talked about 2030 and that being some sort of an end goal, like for them to get some sort of plan in place. But for me, it seems like 2022, in my view, is make it or break it, because this is the time to really make that a power shift in terms of them versus us. And if we kind of just kick our feet around, we're organizing in some sense, but we're still disorganized, not really making any sort of systems or anything to help each other out in terms of resilience, then we might be in a bad spot if they're given the time to have something else happen, like you talked about off air, like false flags. They have the potential to do maybe a cyber attack or anything. They have anything at their disposal. So like, if we can still have the heat on when it's freezing cold outside, I think that's a very big win, and we should take advantage of that. So for me, time's of the essence. This is really make it or break it this year. I'm big in the gardening. I've been doing that for a while, organic, no chemicals and stuff. So I've gotten at least that knowledge under my belt, and I'm really wanting to explode that this year, helping out people in my Freedom Cell, or you, or anyone that's around my neighborhood or anything like that. So we got to really try thinking with abundance, not this scarcity, fear-based kind of mindset, confusion, but just like you're saying, with love and consciousness, and just trying to just empower people and not have them feel like they're alone and that they're powerless. Because I felt that way even just a few months ago, and it's not a good place to be in, because you really feel like you're just spinning your wheels. You're not going anywhere. What's the point? We already lost. But just going to the rally on the 5th on the 3rd, on Monday in Chicago, that was really great to see. And unfortunately, the numbers weren't really there, but planning on doing another one this Saturday. So if anyone's in the Chicagoland area, they're doing another protest. It's in the same location.
Yes, in the same location. I think
if you
I
want to just briefly
my
describe
story.
that, just for anyone that's in this kind of area.
Yeah, I think Christy from Illinois Freedom ended up was coordinating it, and then we're going to the Infinite Juice Bar afterwards. So, but yeah, it's at the James R. Thompson Center. It's going to be downtown. So just go to Plant Based Ben on Instagram and go to my story. You'll see it there, and you get the details. Yeah, but we're going there. I mean, we have to. Now is the time where we can't continue to. The way I see it is, this can't be a once a month thing. And I remember over the summer, it was August, when we set up a Hope for Humanity Fest. We got about 100 people there, and we're like, all right, that's pretty good. But there really wasn't. It was few and far between. Now there's at least 5 or 6 events in this 1 week alone. So things are exponentially growing, and yet a lot of times I think it's like, until people feel the impact directly, a lot of times people don't wake up. It's like most people don't quit smoking until their doctor tells them they've got a health condition. And unfortunately, our job is to, I feel that my job, and I know someone says it's not your job to do anything. It's not your job. And I do believe it's all an inside job. You've got to work on your inside, be the change you want to see. But I want to do the best to inspire, to get people to see that, we really, the longer we wait, the more difficult it's going to be. And the sooner we take action, the more impact we're going to have. And like you said, it's about creating new systems and going from, it's not necessarily about fighting the system. It's like, how do we get out of the system? And we could talk about that later, but there's a lot of solutions that we really do need to put majority of the effort on. At the same time, I think we have to continue to wake more people up to see what's really happening.
Oh, most definitely. I completely agree with everything you said. That's very insightful, and I appreciate you saying all that stuff, because I definitely agree. Now is the time to do it. It's not time to just fight it, but it's the time to just say, you know what, you guys can have your little dog and pony show. We're going to come here. We're going to have more freedom. We're going to be more resourceful and have more independence and learn more practical skills. And we're going to do it ourselves. And we're going to come together. We're going to organize. And so one of the pitfalls I have seen is, because I'm part of a Freedom Cell group, but we're kind of lumped up into like 60 people. And when we do meetings, sometimes we meet at like probably half that amount, like 30 people. And from what I've read in Derek Rose's book, How to Opt Out of the Technocratic State, it's the sweet spot's around 7, 9, 8 people. And from there, there's not as much disorganization. It's you can make short lists. Like we want to get 3 months of food by March for each of us, all of our families, 3 months of food. So we're going to do that as a goal, or this as a goal. And from there, you can kind of escalate that. And then the 60 people, we can just divide that by 8 and just see how many, or divide it by however much. And we each have a group of 8. And then from there, we come together instead of, because I see that as we're all coming together, but we're kind of just like one big glob, and it's really disorganized at the moment. But I love the opportunities that we have by talking. But I think just being a little bit more smart and being more resourceful and efficient, that's definitely going to go a long way. So in terms of just like splitting up the groups a little bit and then coming together as a mini groups and coming together, I think that would be excellent. So there's definitely some things that we're already doing that are great, but we can also just kind of fine tune it, see what works best. You know, all these people in California are doing it this way, or like in France, I think it was France, they were doing protest picnics where they're going outside the restaurants and they're just having picnics outside in the street and just saying, okay, well, we're not even going to fight you. We're just going to show you guys that we can just do this without you. And just something simple like that. I think that's a great idea, doing picnics or anything like that. So I wanted to definitely talk about, because you already got a little bit of your thoughts on COVID and the global narrative, but what do you think like their end goal is? What do you think what they're progressing towards this potential 2030 agenda?
Sure. Yeah. And I love the idea, the suggestion you made, like, you know, that idea, we can come back to that and definitely talk about solutions at some point, because I want to talk about that. And I think that is so key. But there is the aspect still of still understanding and getting clarity on what is the agenda, right? I believe at this point, and I fully come out of the closet. I'm not reserved anymore about sharing in regards to what I feel, because it's to me it's very clear. I believe that there is a sense of a totalitarian, global totalitarian effort to restructure into more of a global government, into a system that is run more by technology, and it's a kind of a fascist operation where you've got the corporate entities and you've got the governments kind of coming together. Now, that's always been considered crazy conspiracy theory. It was great when I saw Dr. Robert Malone, who Northwestern and Harvard inventor of the mRNA technology, ended up coming out and saying basically the same thing and articulating it in the only the way he can. But it's great to see these global, highly educated leaders in the community come out and say it themselves. And it's in terms of who's doing this, who is the they, it's the World Economic Forum has really put this on their website, even in terms of what their plans are. And you had mentioned earlier about 2030. There's been a Agenda 21 and then Agenda 2030. And so these are basically agenda where they want to come together and have more control over all resources of land, of technology, of property. One of the quotes by the World Economic Forum is, in the year 2030, you'll have nothing, you'll have no privacy, and you'll be happy. And they further updated that on their website. I couldn't imagine why that wasn't a popular message. And if you actually look up the definition of communism, it talks about the end of property ownership is like the simple definition of it. And literally, the World Economic Forum is saying you will own nothing and you will be happy. So when you look at it that way, it's really it's being spelled out what their intentions are doing. Now, here's something I really want to share. I found out this was really interesting. Klaus Schwab, who is the president of the World Economic Forum, has created what he's calling a Youth Global Leaders Academy. And he's had this, I might not have the dates right, but since I think it was 1991, and he had further updated it. Well, basically, it's to create these leaders on a global scale. Well, it was interesting because I looked up who had gone through this academy, and you could look it up. I actually posted it in my Telegram group, which is Plant-Based Men, if someone wants to check it out there. And well, Gavin Newsom went through it, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, the I don't know if she's called a prime minister, but the person who's running New Zealand, president of France, the lady who is head of the International Monetary Fund. So you have these people who are in these extremely powerful places, and also the ones that are the most heavy-handed. If I didn't say Trudeau, I meant to say Trudeau. He was also another person who went through this academy or school. So it's basically creating a totalitarian team of leaders to go out and create this new world order. Never thought I'd be saying this on lives if you would have flashed back 2 years ago. But now it's just the evidence is there. You could look it all up. And when you are able to have the largest transfer of wealth ever in human history, you've got these companies like BlackRock and Vanguard, which you now can tie back to owning what is it, like $11 trillion in assets, almost more financial than almost any country, the most countries out there in terms of the net value. So it's amazing how what's happening is it's almost impossible not to see that there's something much more significant going on out there. So, you know, what I think is what they're trying to do is through this, what they're doing is they're rolling out, the first step is rolling out this COVID pass, which is going to lead into a social credit score system, which is going to lead into digital currency. And that's really the end game, is the digital currency. And when they do it step by step, it's only a 2 weeks lockdown. It's only a mask. It's only a shot. It's only a COVID pass for the restaurants. Oh, now it's the restaurants and the grocery store. Now it's the restaurants, the grocery store, and to get your driver's license and to fly on a plane. And it's only 2 shots and a booster. It's a 3rd booster. It's a 4th booster. It's a 5th. It's a 6th. It's a 7th. It's a new strain. It's a new, you know, release from Wuhan or wherever they decide, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. You know, it's the idea that there is this so obvious when you step back and look at it, but it's really hard to see it if you haven't taken the opportunity to kind of look at at the dots and try to connect them. So that's where I think we're at. I think that it is a bit of a global takeover. That's nothing to do with health and safety. I'm not saying that what's happening isn't real. I'm not saying that people aren't getting sick and dying at all. I believe people are getting sick and dying. And I do think I'm concerned about the elderly who are vulnerable. But we can't stop the world. Yeah, so I'll stop there for now, but I really kind of say that's what I feel is happening.
Yeah, I definitely agree with most of it. I think they're even going further than that. I'd love to get into that a little bit more
Sure.
if we could, but I know that Sherry Likes Fruit had a question for you, so I wanted to
Sure.
make sure I posted that up here. Will Ben have the time to write an ebook on how to respectfully debate our loved ones or best exchange ideas with people with opposing views?
Hey, Sherry. Oh, that's funny because Sherry is helping me write the ebook right now. So she sent
Oh,
me,
look at that.
yes, that's kind of funny. So she's done a great job. Sherry and I did lunch in San Diego. Johnny Juicer, John Morelli, who's known by Johnny Juicer, and myself. And we talked about it, and we were discussing different strategies on how to debate, as she called it, or I like to say, just educate, people in terms of how to speak to your loved ones without turning it into, a blow up. So yeah, we've been working on that. As I was mentioning to you, there's so many projects in the works, but I really think that's one key one that really needs to be rolled out because there's a barrier to our communication right now especially for family members and the people and our friends. We're kind of at a standstill, don't know what to say. So Sherry, great project, and we're off to a good start with it.
Awesome. That's awesome. I look forward to seeing that. And then also there was Lindsay, and she said, "What is Ben's biggest goal that he's striving for in 2022 in terms of this awakening freedom movement?"
Yeah, I That's a great question. And I'm a big believer in writing down goals. And it's the 6th right now, and I've got my notes all over about what my goals are for this year. Um, there's a general goal of reaching a certain amount of people that I have through my social media. And I actually look at that. How many videos does this touch? Because that it's empowering to feel like, wow, that many people just saw this video. I feel a bit empowered, like I'm making an impact. But a more tangible goal that I really want to have personally is like the passports are being rolled out. Yesterday, I went to an Asian restaurant that I've gone to 100 times, my favorite place. And I go in and they say, "Great, we can sit you down, but we're going to need to see your vaccine passport and your vaccine and your ID." And I said, "You got to be kidding me! You have to be kidding me!" And it wasn't in downtown Chicago. It was it was in Schaumburg. So that really lit my fire, and I said, we cannot let these stay around. So I think the most urgent goal that we have to do is end the mandates. We just have to put an end to it. We have to put so much pressure and so much non-compliance and stand up and say no more. We have to have group events where instead of being in an echo chamber and just chatting at each other with maybe a few bystanders hearing, we need to go into restaurants and sit down and say, we're sitting down, call the police. So that's what we do. We have to take aggressive action, not aggressive in terms of force, but aggression in terms of non-compliance, not break, because technically these are mandates, these are not laws, and they're being misconstrued as laws. So yeah, I think we got to end the mandates. It's I want to say back to normal, but it's a great awakening normal, not a great reset normal. Oops. You're on silent. Sorry.
I thought I had muted myself. Okay.
Yeah, the other way around.
Yes. But with the basically like the flash mobs, like you're saying, like all of us just kind of go in there as a group and say, okay, well, good luck, Chuck. Like what do you like? We want to like look at all this cash you're potentially going to be making if you just serve us, and we're not going to cause a ruckus. Let's have a good conversation or whatever. Let's have a good meal, or we're not going to toss tables around or anything. We're just gonna I think that's a perfect idea, and it's going to show them like it's not just one lone person that's just a nutter that's just thinking this way. It's this group of 8, 10, 12 people that are coming into my establishment when I'm kind of low on cash. I'm not getting that much traffic. And am I going to do what these authority figures tell me to do? Or am I just going to follow what these actual customers that are here in my establishment at this moment want? And
well, here's what's really interesting, because what they've done, and which is systematic, for sure, is they closed all the small businesses down. Over 100,000 U.S. businesses, this was like a year ago I saw this report, were closed and are not coming back. So what happens? Now you've got the Fortune 500 companies out there, right? You've got the big chain restaurants. Well, who owns those? Well, BlackRock and Vanguard, and basically those who are pulling the strings have investments in these companies. So they're wiping out the middle class, they're wiping these out. And so they could just say, well, as long as we can have these people from the corporate office down enforce it, we're good. So the opportunity is, when I was in the car with my friend yesterday, and we called Chrissy from Illinois Freedom, and we said, hey, do you have that list of restaurants in Chicago that are friendly and they're not paying attention to the mandates? She says, yeah, here you go. We chose one of them. It's a great place. And so it's like we have to, and we can, and when other businesses catch on that, wow, you're booming here. My business has gone down 40% because people aren't coming out as much anymore. Because there are still a number of people who are not complying and haven't gotten the shot. So I think that's one of the things, is to not only to boycott and avoid those businesses that are obviously adhering to this, even if you are vaccinated. This is no longer about vax versus unvax. This is about, do we want to live in this new system? We can all agree. I don't think anyone does, right? So yeah, we also just got to promote and pump up those businesses. We have to hit them at the corporate level. We got to make those phone calls. We have to put pressure as much as we can on the political leaders, even though most of them are bought and it feels like a waste of time. I think we really just got to really put as much heat and pressure as possible, and continue to find and go to the places solutions of those who aren't participating. That's the way I see it.
And yeah, like we were saying with the political system, asking the leaders and stuff. For me personally, like just for me personally, I would not do that. But for people that are interested in that, and that's their like avenue that they want
Mhm.
to strive towards, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if we can at least slow this down in that kind of process, that's also
Mhm.
good for us as well. I personally am not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on more of the creating abundance and trying to help people
Mhm.
grow food and maybe teach some kids or something. Who knows this year? But just and being part of the uh, the protests and all those things. But for people that are interested in doing that and have the passion for that, I think that's an excellent thing to do. And like us going outside of Mayor Lightfoot of Chicago, if going outside her where she is and speaking up and being loud, I think that's also a good thing. I think it just makes it well known, especially in the heart of the city like that. Just being able to make that statement too.
And I'll tell you what, Wednesday night, after we had the event in Chicago, that same evening, um, or was it Monday? It was Monday.
It
Sorry,
was
Wednesday was
Monday,
another
yeah.
event. So we ended up going to downtown St. Charles, and we ended up going to the city council. I've never been to a city council meeting. I've always avoided politics. I don't consider myself a Republican or a Democrat. I just think you got to forget about the system, leave it behind. We're wasting our time. The more we focus on this. So I'm with you. I understand. I believe I understand your mindset where you're coming from extraordinarily well. And I've always held that view for years. But we had 120 people with signs out in front of the street of City Hall. Cars are going by honking their horns. It was rare that you'd hear 30 seconds that would go by where you didn't hear a car honking. We ended up going inside of the city council meeting. It was the first one I ever attended. We're inside there, standing room with all of us, plus all the other people that were in there. The aldermen are the people that are all lined up. It's a little bit ridiculous and formal, and I would want nothing to be part of that, to be honest. But at the same time, they were humans. They felt the pressure. These aren't bought off, given $1 million COVID packages. Guys, these are normal people. You could see they were influenced by us. And the head alderman said, I want to let you guys know there was a rumor that we were going to go the way of Chicago and implement a vaccine passport or whatever they call it. We are not Chicago. We are thinking for ourselves. We are independent, and I'm going to let everyone else go around the room and speak for themselves and what they feel about it. They want to share a couple words. Every one of them went around, and every one of them was in agreement that we're not going to let this happen. We don't want this to happen here in St. Charles. Now, I'm telling you, and they also mentioned that they had 202 phone calls / emails that were sent in, and 200 of the 202 were in opposition to the proposal. So that was squashed, and they said, it's pretty clear which direction we're voting. And I really think if we were just silent in the political arena, there was a good chance that they might have been, well, we really don't know, and this, we're going to get this COVID package for $50,000. Might as well take it. Maybe that's what the people want. But I think the idea that we put the pressure on them, I do think it does have power. We do need to buy times because the new
Yeah.
solutions aren't going overnight. The restaurants aren't just going to disappear. People are still going to want to go to restaurants. We're not just going to want to eat our own food all the time. I still think we want civilization and a sense of society. And I don't think we can just scrap everything. A lot of people aren't just going to be able to pick up and go somewhere else. We still want a sense of community. So anyways, I thought that was a valuable lesson for myself, that I do think reaching out to people can make a difference on a certain level to some degree. But to put all your energy there without emphasizing the ideas of these new solutions, I think is a mistake. So
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And that story was amazing. So thank you for sharing that. That's great to hear that they finalized that decision to not do it, or they're still in that kind of
they verbalized it, but the vote is actually this coming up week.
Okay.
Apparently. So as far as I understood it, so if they actually were just feeding us a bunch of BS and they end up like going the other direction, it's possible. But I tell you what, that would be really surprising. I mean, I think you get a sense of people in reading them. I think you can kind of tell who's sincere, and and who's not. But yeah, I'll be quite jaded if it goes the other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I think if we give up hope and make the assumptions that everybody's bought, everyone's paid for, there's nothing we can do. That the I'm just speaking for in general terms. If we have a defeatist attitude, we can miss a lot of potential opportunity out there to make an impact.
Yeah, and to go along with that, I know that someone in this freedom group is has a friend that's super he's very skeptical. How am I not saying that right?
That's right. You said it right.
Skeptical. Like I don't know why
Skeptical.
yeah, skeptical.
Yeah.
So he's very skeptical about other people, and he thinks that they might be an agent or someone that's getting fed cash under the table, and you can't.
Don't get me
them.
started. Yeah, yeah.
And so I definitely see that there's like with basically all protests, there's usually some sort of infiltration in there. Like an undercover cop or something like that. So that's something to definitely be aware of. So I'm not saying people should not be aware of that and just be cognizant of that. And yeah, people that you're interacting with, you have like an eye behind your head, you know, and just be cautious. There's nothing wrong with being cautious. But then, yeah, like you're saying, people are just like, oh, they're all bought off. They're all paid for. It's all just in this direction and they're all in this together. In that sense, it can be a shortcoming when it's taken that far where you think everyone's like that. And just doing the whole paintbrush thing. So I definitely understand that people's mindsets with that, but we also have to, I mean, you got to have some sort of trust and faith in some form in order to really interact in this and to really have that drive to do solutions and to create freedom. Because there are going to be people that are trying to infiltrate or do something and stir things up and make you look like you aren't like the thing you aren't. Like Black Lives Matter. Like I think that movement was genuine at some point. It hasn't been really genuine. It's kind of been co-opted in some form. And but I still think there's still genuine people in that, and I definitely think that the minorities and just underprivileged people are getting screwed indefinitely, and they're getting a constant stream of tickets or whatever else, arrests and all these other things to keep them in that spot. And that's something that we have to shine a light on. But to take it to some of the extent that they have, it's also up for people to really talk about and just have a conversation about. But yeah, I think we should be worried about potential people coming in and stirring things up, but other than that, it's just good to just be genuine yourself because you can only control yourself. Be genuine. Try not to do anything to cause violence or cause harm to anybody, and you'll attract those people. Don't take my word for it, but you'll see that you'll get some good people on your side, and you'll be able to trust them. I've luckily been able to have that the past few months to find people that I didn't know before, going over to their apartment for the first time ever and having 3-hour conversation and feeling really good about it and feeling comfortable. So we definitely can't give up hope on that, on just everyday people, on the people that are around us, our neighbors. We can't just give up on them and just think that they're in on the agenda or they completely bought into everything that's going on. Like people that are wearing masks in the stores. It's easy to say, oh, they're just bought or they just swallowed this whole thing up. Some of them might not. Some of them might not think it's even an option to take it off, or they're just scared of getting yelled at, but they still agree with us. So it's definitely the time to really, and that's what I really want to focus on right now is with you in this conversation is how can we get people that are potentially watching this right now or in the future, or just people in everyday life that are just stagnant. They know something's going on. They can feel it, but they just don't know where to start. They don't know a certain group. They don't know if this group is trustworthy or this group's trustworthy, but they just want to get activated in some form. What would be some of your advice for just taking some steps to kind of get out of that shell and interact?
Yeah, it's a great question because it can feel overwhelming. You know, I remember the first time when I was going to Animal. They're called cubes of truth, and there were these cubes where you go and you would show people what happens in the factory farms, and it was just kind of an educational circle in a way that you just kind of show people that, and you just have conversations with them and let them know. But a lot of people were like, no, don't want to talk to you. And I was nervous. I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk to anyone. What I'm going to have to, what if they say something? I don't know how to respond. I don't know all the details. And so I've had activism in my background, and that's allowed me to be more comfortable coming out with the COVID stuff. But I think one thing is that I haven't been to an event yet that hasn't been just full of love and light and good energy and open heartedness. They're not Trump rallies. They're not QAnon, crazy events. And I have nothing against QAnon or Donald Trump. I'm just saying that's the stereotype, and I want to try to break that. So, I think that people are welcoming. There's a lot of, I mentioned at the event on Monday, I said there's a lot of Christians, but this isn't a Christian movement. There's a lot of Republicans. This isn't a Republican movement. So I'd say the first thing is get over that worry about stigma about people. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of conservatives at some of these events, but there's going to be a lot of liberals. At our Hope for Humanity Fest, we had everything. We had just all walks of life: black people, white people, gays, straights, elderly, teenagers. It was fantastic to have this unity, because the thing that brings us together is this freedom, is this hope, is love for humanity. So it's a fantastic thing about these events, because it breaks down all these barriers and these stereotypes. So the first thing is get excited about some of these things. You're going to meet people that are like-minded. Like you said, you're going to go to someone's house, you're going to sit down for 3 hours, have these great conversations, because you realize so many people have been pent up. And when I go to these events, people say, you have no idea how refreshing this was. Thanks for putting this on, because I haven't talked to someone about this stuff in person in over a year. So I would say get involved. You don't have to have the answers. You don't have to go out and speak. Just attend. It makes a big difference. And you start to make connections and new friends. And it starts to snowball from there. You get more experience, you get more courage. And then this is a grassroots movement. So that's where I'd say to start. And we can get into the social media aspect of it and raising more awareness as well when you're ready for that too. But I'll stop there for now.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And yeah, so kind of jumping off from that, so for people that are already sort of doing that thing, they're coming to the events, they're mingling, they're networking, which is all fantastic, super great benefits from doing all that stuff. If someone wants to up the ante a little bit and they want to maybe try to host an event or create an event or just do anything where people come together, what would be some tips and tricks, or any sort of advice, or maybe some avenues or people that they could possibly communicate with in order to get that sort of thing
I
off
would
the
say,
ground?
yeah, first of all, just start. If it ends up being nobody there, that's okay. You tried. The better your comeback story for next time. If it's you and your dog and your mom, that's okay. But the thing is, I think one of the things to do is network. When we started this, what we did is we found the Telegram. I went to Telegram and I found these different groups. That's how I found Freedom Illinois and Illinois Patriots and all these different groups. And I didn't know who they were, but I reached out to them and they came, and that helped. Posted constantly on social media. And just, social media is a fantastic tool. It's a double-edged sword, but it's available. And right now, let's use it while we can to its fullest and reach people. And so just, find a venue, find a place, have a meeting. Maybe first thing is starting a coffee shop. Say, hey, we're talking about putting an event together. Anyone else interested? Why don't we all go meet and we'll discuss it. We'll think about a place, what we want to do. Maybe if we want to make some signs, and then it all comes together, and then you just kind of organically find that. But honestly, reach out to me, reach out to other people and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing it. Can you give me some help, some support? Everybody in this movement is in for the same reason. We realize the significance of this. So don't be scared to reach out to people.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, I haven't been able to post it up yet, but I did an interview with Chrissy from Free
Oh, cool.
Illinois, and yeah, she said that people have contacted her just to help spread that message of, hey, there's an event coming in this certain area, and she would just take that and what they said, and she would post it up, and she would get a lot of traction for that. So I'm gonna try to have that in the links in the description, so people, if they're genuine about trying to do something in this Chicagoland area, they can definitely reach out to her and see if she's interested in helping promote it. I think that's fantastic. I'm trying to maybe do a meetup at some point. So I think that's really great information. Thank you for the tips and stuff, because that's a lot of people just kind of get lost in the weeds, like where do I start type of thing.
Don't over. And the last thing I'll say is, do not overthink this. Don't wait for the perfect, plan to be written with all your bullet points, and just reach out. Say, hey, I'm meeting here. Let's go meet up. And there's just something therapeutic and something powerful about being in person that we forget about. We forget about that true in-person connection. So, get there, and then, but just get the word out and see what happens. Don't worry about the outcome.
Yeah, that's very good. And like when you're talking about your mom and your dog, and they're the only ones that show up. That was hilarious, but it's true. It's and at least you get to learn the process that it takes to get that whole thing set up. So it really is a benefit. It's not really you lost time or anything like that. You're learning. You're getting a lot of good experience doing that, regardless if one person shows up or 20. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's definitely a good way to look at it. So just going from that to just what I wanted to talk about was the natural law, objective
Sure.
morality. I'm going to share my screen really quick. Let's see if this works. Okay. Share system audio. No. Window. Okay. So if I share this and I go right here. So for people that are unaware of what I mean by natural law, it basically means you can also call it law of cause and effect. So effect invariably follows cause. For every action, there exists an equal and opposite reaction. It can be called the law of attraction. The energy you emit is the energy you attract. Energy flows where attention goes. As you think, feel, and act, so you shall be. Karma, or moral law, which is you reap what you sow, and the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done to yourself. So for me, this is the linchpin and the causal factor as to why we are in this current state of tyranny across the globe. It's us not understanding natural law and coming to a free will decision to to not do those things that are wrongdoings. So, for instance, murder, assault, rape, theft, trespassing, coercion, lying. Those are if even so for someone that thinks it's subjective, where you can it's based on thoughts and feelings and time and place. If you look at all 7 of those things I listed, I don't think many people would think that any of those are right or something that's good that will have a good outcome. So having that understanding, just that basic understanding, come up with any wrongdoing you can, it's going to be one of those 7 things. And all of those are a form of stealing. And so the underlying principles just don't steal. And so they've kind of gotten people into a left brain or right brain dominant modality. So for the people that are in the left brain, it's the masculine side of the brain. So it's can lead to rigid skepticism and scientism, atheism, solipsism, which is where there's no objective truth. That's what solipsism is. Moral relativism, where right and wrong is just based off of our thoughts and emotions. It's time and place. Social Darwinism, where there's people that need to be ordering us what to do. We need to have leaders that have more power than us. The survival of the fittest, and then eugenics and authoritarianism. And then for people that are more right brain dominant, that leads to being a bit naive, blind belief, religious extremism, and then also solipsism, feelings of unworthiness, self-loathing, order following, and being a willing slave. So what they try to do is have us in one of these modalities, not thinking holistically, using both parts of our brains, but using only one part in a dominant sense. And then that can lead to also a worldview having a big disconnect. So for people that are more left brain, I know a lot of these people. The universe is a grand accident. There is no creator, therefore there is no underlying intelligence in nature. There's no such thing as spiritual, moral, or natural law. The existence has no purpose other than to continue to exist. So just we're going to do everything based on just survival instinct. Hallmarks of scientism, atheism, and totalitarianism. And then for people that are more right-brained, I definitely know some of these people. God controls every event in creation. All occurrences are preordained. Free will is an illusion and does not exist. Since God controls everything, change is impossible. Action is ultimately meaningless, and that's hallmarks of religious extremism and slave think. And so the truth is right smack dab in the middle, where there is a deterministic factor and component, and then there's the random component. So the truth is natural law, and these are not things that require belief or for you to take someone's word for. These are things that you can apply in your own life, and you can see the results as you're going throughout your months or your years or whatever. I've personally put these into effect, and they've worked really, really well for me. I've had doors open up as other ones were closing. I've met good people. People can call it synchronicity. And so, yeah, so it's just the natural law component, and then us coming to the free will decision making process to choose to do the right thing simply because it is the right thing. And just knowing that and not being forced to do it. So for the mask mandates, we're being forced to wear a mask because it's helping. It's supposedly protecting people. But in reality, you really can't force anyone to do that. You can give me the information and I can come to that decision on my own. And if we have proper values and proper morals, then it is easier to get a majority of the population to do the right thing because they have a proper upbringing. They know that they can't initiate violence on anybody. And so it's basically the non-aggression and the self-defense principle. So you do no harm, but you don't take any shit at the same time. So if I were at someone's house, I wouldn't be stealing anything, even if I can get away with it, because I know it's wrong. I know what goes around comes around. Something's going to happen. My tire's going to get a flat, or I'm going to lose my job, or something's going to happen. I know something will come around. So it's just we're operating on the plane of effects right now when it comes to that's why with politics, that's why I don't put too much faith in it or emphasis on it, because it's mostly the plane of effects. It's not the plane of causality. The plane of causality is in the mind, and it's us using our thoughts and our emotions and our actions together in unison, and then doing what we want to do. And that's why these people that are in power, they're so effective, because they understand these principles and they're using it against us. They're using their knowledge of it and our ignorance of it to our disadvantage. So they have us focus on, oh, we need more laws, we need more restrictions, we need more government, we need more police, more military, instead of thinking, well, what's causing all of these things to happen? What's causing crime to happen? What's causing people being malnourished and all these things to happen? And we're thinking that the problem is the solution. We think that the government, which is the problem, us putting other human beings in who aren't different than us. They have the same rights, they don't have any less rights, they don't have any more rights, but they're also human beings. If I don't have the right to go to your house and steal your stuff or trespass on your property, we can't give that right to a group of people if we as individuals don't have that right. And it's basically just boils down to that. And it's just don't steal. And obviously we're not perfect. That's never going to be the case. I'm not talking about any sort of utopia, but as a fundamental kind of universal thing that all of us can come together on. Because I don't think a Democrat's going to say, oh yeah, you have the right to steal, or a Republican says, yeah, you have the right to just murder somebody flat out. No, I think we all can see with the moral compass that we do have inside of us. Some people have access to it easier than others, but we can come to that understanding and just see, wow, this system that's in place is all in our minds. It's not something where they actually have this authority. We just believe in it, and there's enough of us that do believe in it. And I think that's the true enemy, is just authority and belief that people have more authority than us. And like you were saying, like, don't disconnect from society, like community, like just because you want to build your own systems. Exactly. 100% agree. We should be able to have voluntary exchange. Like the restaurant you went to, they didn't point a gun to your head and say, hey, come here and give us your business. You went there because you knew what they stood for. You liked what they stood for, and you supported them voluntarily. Like that's how it should be, not where we're forcing people to do stuff. And so I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on that. I'm sorry I talked for probably like 20 minutes.
No,
But,
it's very interesting stuff. You got me into that, and just to let the viewers know, Nicholas shared with me a video on this whole topic earlier, and it really gets you thinking. So yeah, send a message. Sorry to obligate you to this, but yeah, I don't know if you have it posted somewhere, but it's a really insightful video.
Yeah, definitely. I can do that right now.
Yeah. So just thoughts on that. But there's a lot to go into here, and it's a really important aspect, because something tells me you're not going to be on this page. But I was years ago. I was a hardcore Bernie Sanders supporter. You're not. Oh, you're on mute again.
Yeah, I was too. Yeah, when
you're not anymore, huh?
No, not anymore. But I was during the whole primary stuff.
Me too. And because you think about it, tax the billionaires. That's the thing. They're getting away with everything. Let's invest money in. That sounds like a good thing. Let's get away from the damaging environmental toxin stuff. That sounds like a good thing. I got my degree in environmental science. I'm a vegan. I can appear to be about as liberal as anyone can get, right? And I was probably the stereotypical liberal. I drive a Prius. I'm vegan. I have an environmental science degree, right? I love Bernie Sanders at some point. So when you look at all that, it's like, wow, yeah. And now Ben's talking about freedom fighting and going to these events. And it's because the one thing that triggered that change in me is I recognize in a utopian world, sounds great. But when systems are corrupted, you're subject to a takeover, a hostile takeover. The money that we're giving to the government, it's not going to what we need it to go to. We're living in fear from authority. If I'm anything, I'm a libertarian for based on what I've seen libertarians talk about and say, and Ron Paul, and I said, my God, he seems to be one of the only politicians who stands on principle. He's about it's just everything that I ever heard him say is legitimate, and I haven't heard. And Rand Paul, his son, is the only one speaking up about Fauci, and he's drilling him really hard. And to me, this is the topic that matters. But anyways, I don't want to box myself into any category because I don't believe that to be true. So coming back to your question, it's open-ended. It's hard because you say black and white, no stealing or anything like that, cause no harm. Here's a scenario. What if you drink, you're driving, somebody with you, you crash and they get injured or die? Were you responsible for that?
Yeah, I would say most definitely.
But you can see how there's this gray area, where there isn't just a black and white, authority, no authority. And to have some structure in society seems to be necessary, at least in a transitionary point.
Oh,
from my
definitely.
perspective.
Yeah, not a drop of the hat. We're done with government completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's not going to be a 10-year thing. Unfortunately, it would be cool if it was faster, but yeah, it's going to be a transitional thing. We get slowly more and more freedom, just living by those principles. But yeah.
I believe in education. I don't think we need government to make all our choices for us. Could you imagine if instead of mandating masks, shots, lockdowns, and constant fear campaigns, that they were saying, here's the correlation between vitamin D and your health and your risk of getting COVID and dying. So we encourage everyone to get sunlight every day and fresh air. Obesity is something about 78% of all deaths had people who are overweight. So you need to focus on weight loss. And so we're going to give free weight loss coaching and courses and education to the general public. Okay, this is just a sample. This is how we know. Oh, if you already have natural immunity, you don't have to worry about it. You don't need the shots anymore. I mean, there's so many things indicating this, but just coming back to the points of and it's not even their job to educate us, right? But what's happening is the opposite. They're creating fear campaigns, and we're actually living under the tyranny. They're not coming from a neutral place. We're literally living in a tyrannical, under the tyrannical control right now. It's through the media. It's an arm of this government corptocracy system. And we're living underneath that right now. And so, yeah, I think we're on the same page. I think we have to minimize government and get them out of the way as much as we can. But I do think that it's definitely, you can argue for certain things needing to be in place, to certain structures, at least for now, keeping things in place.
Yeah. And like you were saying, I just had it. So that was a really good point you made that I wanted to touch on. But I cannot remember, unfortunately. Doggone it. Yeah, so to go in line with that, just that's something that I'm trying to bring to this. Like on Monday, when I went to the rally and stuff, I was noticing like they were saying, yeah, the election was stolen in 2020, but let's just be more diligent and stuff. And I agree, we should be more diligent. Like if we're gonna believe in that process, we should really be having our eyes on it like a hawk, especially just 2020 vision, just knowing how things kind of transpired. And but yeah, it's just taking it another step above that. Like, why do these guys have more rights than us? Why is this like this? And just asking why. Like, why is it that when we were kids, that's all we asked for the most part? We're like, why?
Right.
Parents are like, oh, because I said so. No, that's not how you answer them. You actually explain it to them so they understand.
Well, and that's the thing is like, well, a lot of parents that was beat out of them and beat out of their parents. And so it's like, you get to this point where you're working 2 jobs and you're frustrated and your marriage is going bad and you're unhealthy. And so you just don't have the time and energy. Or maybe you just, kids can be exhausting. I don't hold it against any parent to not have the patience. unconditional patience for your child. I'm sure it's not easy. I don't have kids.
Oh yeah.
But and the question for me is, the systems are so broken, and I do believe we need to move away from them into new systems. Okay, how do we start to step out of them? That's maybe, I don't know. I'm curious to get your take on that. But what do we do to exit the old, and what do the new systems look like? And is it a new government? Is it an official revolution? Is it the common law? What's your perspective?
Wow, that's a good question. Because I know John Bush, if people aren't aware of who he is, he I'll just show it right now. I take this every so often, some kratom. So this is John Bush. He's kratom man. It's not really showing up, but yeah. So I take that every now and then. So he's talked about a lot about agorism and different systems we can have. So he's really explained it really in depth with like insurance plans where people all, like in a community, kind of join that in together and make their own little pool of cash. And he really gets in the nitty gritty of it. And I can't really express it in that sense for myself. I don't have enough knowledge in that regard and on like actual tangible steps we can take. But I just know that, that just the baseline of just doing your, like you're saying, like with some of those gray areas, like we don't know for sure if this really is a right or a wrong. In some instances, there are little things that we can kind of work towards and just kind of figure that out if that really is right or wrong. But I think just that as a baseline would get things moving in some form. And that's the thing, if people putting not just their attention, but they're actually personally advocating for certain things to happen. So they're personally advocating for a certain group of people to get more of their income forcibly taken from them in order to give it to another group. And that's like, if you're claiming ownership over any amount of someone's income, that's slavery. So I don't know if people would say maybe 10% is not slavery and 15% is, but I would say just any claim of ownership over any of your labor is slavery. So people are inadvertently advocating for slavery without even realizing it. So I think a lot of that, like people's just their axioms, their underlying foundational view of the world and what reality is just on faulty ground. And so, like you were saying, it's education. That's literally the key, is education, because it starts with your thoughts. And then from there, you have your emotions, where you kind of digest everything that you're thinking about and kind of putting it into perspective. And then your actions. So your thoughts and your emotions and your actions, they call that the Trinity, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. And just putting that into like the Trinity and going out through that, I think that would be the way to really slowly whittle down things. I don't know really the whole details of how we could really formally come together, but I think like someone like you that has expertise with health and just training and properly exercising and having right posture, we can go to people that do have the experience. So like all these doctors that they have on TV and they're like, oh, they're the experts, trusted experts. I think we need to get experts on our side, like some people are doing. They're standing up, like Robert Malone and things along those lines. And then just creating our own systems with these people. We need the expertise that these people have. We can't just be running blind and then try to look through books and learn our own way. At that point, we need to get people that are already in these fields and then kind of build something with them, so that we don't rely on their healthcare systems. We don't rely on their construction companies, because the construction companies, it's just the workers that are creating the roads. They have the know-how on how to do it. We need to get those workers on our side. So I think it's because that's how they're able to do it. They have unlimited funding, but then they also have the authority figures to brainwash people in some form and saying, hey, I have this expertise. I have a white lab coat on. I did my research. I have a PhD. Don't listen to these people. They have no idea what they're talking about. So I think, just getting a lot more expertise on our side. And I think a couple good examples of that, like Rob Reiner, he created an app called Crop Swap. So what you could do is, if you have kind of a micro farm or a large garden, and you have tomatoes, and that's maybe all you grow, that's your area of focus, you could let people know. It's like an app, like I don't know, like Uber Eats or something, right? And it's live, and he already has, I think, thousands of people in California already signed up for it. So he's looking to develop that. So you can swap your tomatoes
with your somebody, a few miles away grows cucumbers or whatever it is, and then you can actually, you're cutting out the grocery store, you're cutting out the middleman, you're cutting out the GMOs, and you're doing this local community swapping. Crop Swap is that you can just download the app right now. It's free in the App Store. So that is, in my opinion, a genius solution. Health Freedom for Humanity, with, you mentioned Jeff Wiseman before. I know Alex, Zach, and a few other people are putting together an app called Source, and Source is SOURCE. It's an app that is bringing the holistic doctors and practitioners together. So when you want to find a doctor, you could go to this app and find some holistic health healing, true healing, opposed to the medical system. So we're building something there. Homeschooling and co-op, I should say, has doubled in the last year, from like 5% to almost like 11% or something like that. And so that's really powerful, that people are realizing we could take our kids out of school, and more creativity, more solutions, more curriculum, and all of that seems to be coming out now as more people join in, and there's more creativity, and more solutions. So I see these solutions coming, and to me, when we are focused on this, it's like, yes, these are the solutions. Let's get rid of the public school system. We do not need that anymore. But there's enough creativity, there's enough technology to help us with that, right? So, I'm excited about these solutions, and I think they're out there. And there's millions of people coming up with them, with new ideas all the time. So, from my perspective, that's kind of where I feel with those, the attention needs to be. So each one of the industries, we need to break it down, and then just to round it off with the financial systems. I know crypto can also have people are very polarized by crypto, and it can be very dangerous, and it could be very easily corrupted, and the central bank digital currencies are enslavement of humanity. Once if we ended up going fully digital, that's very, very dangerous. But there's also solutions from the blockchain technology that could free us from some of the current systems and banking, the banks and other institutions. So they're out there, and I think this is the time over the next, it's going to take years, but to get educated and start to build and become familiar and get some expertise in these systems, so we can share that.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And those sources are like literally the source that you mentioned. That's a great source of information for me, because that's a huge benefit. That's excellent that people, and that's the thing, like we were both saying, like just taking those expertise and making it easy for you to find these people, so you don't support this the allopathic side, you support the homeopathic, holistic side. And yeah, like just the brainstorming is great, because that's really what mind control is. It's just limiting someone's imagination. It's making them not think in this huge scope, 360 degrees, but thinking in this small little box. And that's why when most kids are growing up, they think, what can I do to change the world or to end world hunger and stuff? And for me, I was thinking within the system. So it never could work within the system.
Right.
Oh, well, if I could, maybe I could do this. Well, no, you need to do this, and you need a license. You need this. Well, yeah, it's not going to ever work in the system, because it's built this way. It's built perfect to not work.
Yes.
And so I think that's why I was talking about like the schism of the mind, and they kind of try to keep us in those different modalities, because we don't. Once our mind comes together, we think holistically. Our pineal gland starts getting activated. We think holistically. A different part of our brain kind of opens up. And then, just using our imagination. And like you're saying with the public school system, the first thing they take out is music and art. It's the first thing they cut out is the creative side. So they want that imagination to just be stifled. And I think that is the key, is for people that have kids now that are in this kind of movement and this mindset to really put it to their kids. Hey, Billy, try to come up with some idea, but don't think about it within this system. Just use your own imagination and try to think of ways that we can improve society or whatever.
I totally agree. I'm totally passionate about this, and thinking about revolutions, because I really think we're in a revolution now. And I know people say, don't use the word revolution. It's an evolution. And I agree with that. But there's also, I'm going to call it a revolution. I like it. and I think it's powerful. People like Jimmy Levy, if you're familiar with him, and he's written these songs about exiting the matrix, and we will not comply. And he stood out and went from with the music he was doing to just saying, I'm going to go against the narrative, and I'm going to speak out. he's had #1 Billboard charts, and he is now, you know, it, not it his he was above The Rock in his area, you know. So it's like there's me and there's The Rock, and I was, you know, and I wasn't being recognized nearly to the degree that he was. And what's beautiful about revolutions is we don't really remember necessarily the scientists and things. We remember the art. We remember this poetry and the quotes and the music. Thinking back to the '60s, and you know, we're hearing these revolutionary songs, and that's what stands out, and that's what energizes. Because you were mentioning about the pineal gland. If we're not touching the heart, if we're not connecting with people, they're not. They're going to stay in their mass herd. They're not going to leave their comfort zone. They'd rather be on the wrong side of history, but safe and secure, than to take this leap outside if they're not feeling welcomed and loved. You know, so I think there's this power in art. There's this power in using art to open the heart and to free people's minds. You know, so and again, I don't think that was by accident that it's downplayed the power of that, as well as with exercise and gym. And it's, you know, I think the idea if kids aren't healthy, how in alignment with their spirit are they? You know?
Yeah, yeah, and the school food and all that stuff. Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, it's all makes sense for them to do it that way.
Yeah,
I know that we're getting close to 6:20 or 6:30, so I wanted to just kind of just do a sprint at this subject. So we're talking about spreading your message. So in terms of you have a huge following on Instagram. I don't know how the heck you did it, but it's 147,000 followers, which is incredible. So what's been your kind of your strategy in terms of getting followers or just spreading your message, or besides the plant-based Ben, but just also like your freedom messaging?
Yeah, you know, it was interesting because, you know, I got most of my followers through my before and after transformations. And when people would see that through hashtags or somebody else would repost them and tag me, people would see that and say, how did he do that? You know, and so people apparently took interest in it. And so after doing that, people would then they reach out, they wanted coaching, whatever. So that drew most of my followers. And then I started realizing, you know, people come to you either for education, inspiration, or entertainment. So if you're not offering some sort of value to people, and so I was giving people free recipes, showing them how to eat, tips on the free workouts, high protein foods, you know, things like that. And so the combination of those things helped to really build where I was at. And I realized there was a correlation between the value I was offering and the speed at which I was growing. But also, I think there's an aspect of trying to reach people. If you're not getting the word out there, I always look after a post, like how many people did I reach through the hashtags? And it's usually about 20-25%. So you're reaching thousands of people just by putting these hashtags down there. And I'm a big believer in, it's like, I am curious to know how many people I'm reaching, because I have a message that I want. My goal is to have as much influence and impact as possible in this movement. And so I want these strategies. I want to offer some strategies for briefly here to people. It's just I researched it. You know, I went to the experts. I got Instagram coach. I wanted to learn because I had altruistic goal of trying to reach and spread a message that I believe in. And then through my posts now, right now, I'm really, most people are, rarely anyone shares my before and afters anymore, but they did share my quotes, and I'm grateful for that. It means, and it feels like that this is who I am. I felt like that my platform led up to me being at this point where I can share these messages about freedom and helping people to awaken what's going on. And I feel, you know, this means 10 times more to me than the other thing. Just in terms of my personal transformation, I still wholeheartedly believe in making it a happy, healthy, conscious world, but at the same time, so these quotes, and people are resharing them, and they tag me, and people are finding me that way. So even though I probably lost 20,000 followers since I switched over to the freedom stuff, I gained about 20,000, 25,000 back, you know, so it was just a switch. So it was nice to have done that and realize that I can be fully in alignment with who I am and be speaking my full truth. And not only but but more importantly, speaking what I want to believe I should be speaking about and speaking on, and speaking from my heart and what's on my mind. And so just by trusting, like you said before, like you just trusted, um, just the
The
idea of
universe.
the universe, right? And just said, all right, I'm going to speak out, and I might lose my family, my followers, my clients, my platform. I've gotten shadow banned a few times, so it's like I take risks, but I sleep better at night taking risks than I do being silent.
Yeah, that's excellent. And just in terms of a certain strategy that you've been using in terms of just coded language or just using different
Yeah.
words instead of COVID or vaccine or gene therapy shot or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to give just a little brief description of kind of your strategy and how you started using that. And
Yeah, I think I've gotten some things figured out, knock on wood. But anything with the V word and the C word in there, I avoid it altogether. And I think this is an important part of the movement, especially we're talking about like, oh, we have this rally coming up, and let's, say no to vaccines and COVID-19. It's like these are triggering things, and I won't reshare those because to me, it's our goal is to make the biggest impact. And if we lose our platforms, we're going to lose our ability to influence. But yet, if we don't get the information out, we're not influencing anybody, and or educating maybe is a better word. So with that being said, I just try to be very creative with my wording, not to do any words that I think would be triggering, So just got to watch out for I think people know kind of the standard buzzwords. So yeah, I'm a lot more conscious of that than I was before. And I think quotes are a way where you can get the point across without having to say it. One thing I think is missing is the data. People still don't know the data, and I think it's important for us to. And I have a backup. I have 2 backup accounts. I have 3. So I have multiple accounts that I share. I have Ben.Rowie as my backup account, and I've got Health Freedom Health Freedom Coalition, which is so banned that it doesn't reach anyone, so I don't really talk about it anymore. But I just think, hey, people are under mass hypnosis right now through the media. We have the chance to be the media. We are the media, and we're reaching cumulatively between all of us who are in this movement millions of people. And without this, we would be in a dire position. I think this is what's keeping us at least as free as we are today. And so, but I think we have to realize that we have a gift right now, and to use these platforms to their fullest right now, and prepare ourselves to start to expand into other platforms as well.
yeah, and I completely forgot to mention this when we first started, but for people that are watching this right now on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, I don't really care about any of these platforms for myself personally. Yes, I have a YouTube channel, but for me, I'm on BitChute.com and also Odyssey.com. And there's also different like Facebook, Twitter alternatives like Minds.com and then Float.app. So there's other avenues for people that are in like the kind of Instagram space and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely being more tech savvy is also a definite, very valuable practical skill to have. I'm good at video editing to some extent, but to say I'm any sort of pro or anything like that, of course not. But I think I make pretty good content if I put my mind to it and I take the time and I go slow about it and I make sure it's nice and accurate and precise. I think I do a good job. And then like I didn't know anything at this point. Like so it's just finding a good video editing software, maybe looking at a couple YouTube videos, a couple little descriptions on what to do, and you're basically good to go. It's really quite simple. So for people that are hesitant or anything like that, Instagram is different. You just post things. You can put some hashtags and things. You can do some changing like the color scheme and stuff. But yeah, it's really not that difficult. Just have, like you were saying, have a good message, provide some value. Even if you don't have any original content, maybe just take someone's really long video and maybe splice it up into little bite-sized pieces and maybe add some little flair to it. You don't have to make your own original content in that sense of actually sitting down and recording things. So I think it's open field for people to kind of roam around in and see what works best for them. And
I think that's, as you can see, I'm trying to jump in here because of my excitement. Stop thinking, I share content on my backup second page. I'm constant, and even on my front page, like I don't care if I share my own content, and yes, but the thing is, I'm not concerned about my brand right now. I'm concerned about waking people up. So I posted 2 Dr. Malone things in the last 24 hours. I'm posting whatever I can that I think is going to wake up people. But yeah, it's great to have your own brand, but don't be scared to mix it up. You can get a repost app, download other stuff, and start posting. Start networking with people, and you will start to build. The next thing you know, you're making, you're starting to reach a lot of people. Don't underestimate the impact that you can have by creating an account and posting things. Get a private account. Don't have your name associated with it, and just post to your heart's content. Don't worry about your Uncle Bob finding out that, so he won't invite you to Easter. It's like if that's what you're concerned about, and that's why you have a private account, you don't say anything, open up a second account. I call it a Batman account. It's kind of like I felt like that. If that's what I did at first. I didn't say a word on plant-based Ben, and then Health Freedom Coalition, I was Batman, and like here I go, and Bill Gates and everything, and I was going crazy. And then I finally had the courage and realized I would have more of an impact.
Ooh, sorry.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I know that you got to go really soon. We're already basically kind of over the clock. I just wanted to share this one. Lindsay was curious when your ebook will be ready and the cost. She's in desperate need of it.
Wow. Okay. Well, Lindsay, if you're asking about my fitness ebook, but I don't think that's what we're talking about. But if that's the case, that's already a link in my bio, and on Instagram, you can get that right away. It's actually in this thing, that a project that we're doing right now. Check it out there. Send me a message. And if you're thinking about like just in terms of like this movement and creating an ebook, I don't have that yet, but we're actually working on a big project it's like the off-grid bundle, where we're putting a package of different books and resources together to help people get off the grid and free themselves from the systems that we've been talking about. So look out for that. That's coming soon.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So for people that want to get in touch with you or just see your content, it's Instagram. That would be the
go to Instagram. If you're not an Instagrammer, come join the party. It's the water's warm. But if you're on Telegram, you just find me at Plant-Based Ben there too. Or if you just Google Plant-Based Ben, you can find me elsewhere as well. So yeah.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I already have the links for your 2 Instagram accounts already, but if you want to send me the Telegram, I can also put that in the description for people.
Sounds
just to
good.
Make it easier for them. All right, Ben, I really appreciate you coming on. It really means a lot to me, and thanks for taking the time out to talk to me. I really appreciate it, and I hope you take care.
You too, Nicholas. Great. Thanks so much. It was an honor to be on your show. I'm grateful for you and everything you're doing, and thanks again.
Yeah, not a problem. All right, take care, everybody. Have a great night.